All right, what's up, everybody? Had a little technical difficulties. I know the Facebook's made some changes to the groups recently, and it seems like maybe one of them was that you used to be able to go live into Facebook groups and pages, and it wasn't giving me that option today, so that's fine. Mike and I here, Mike Young, the Makeover Master, are going to have a little conversation today, and then we'll put the replay. If you're watching the replay, we'll put the replay in the Facebook group as well, so you can see it if you don't hop in live here in a little bit. But what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. It's thanks for having me in, and it's going to be a fun chat.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you've been a big part of the ULW experience, Unleash the Leader Within, that now we've done in Nashville the last few times, doing it again here August 23rd through the 26th, doing a fire walk this time, which I don't know if I had told you that yet, but I'm looking forward to that.
I'm getting my feet.
Did I tell you that?
I'm just burning my feet with like hot frying pans every night.
just to callus them up. So yeah, I'm excited about that, but I only mentioned that as a soft plug, and also because one of the first times I think you really talked about what you call the vice was at the ULW experience. And I wanted to bring that to, everybody else that's in the Championship Leadership for Entrepreneurs and Business Owners group, because we all go through what you call the vice, and how you, put that together, and it all just makes sense when you look at it. And then of course you do a much better job than I do at eloquently communicating what that is and what it's all about. So maybe talk about it, because it's like you say, it's real, and no one's immune to it. We all go through it, and many of us go through it and haven't been able to put a finger on what it is or why we do, like you have been able to do. And then, it's cool. All right, well, we're in the vice. That's nice. But then, you help to take it a step further on, how the hell
how the hell do we get out of this thing?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it came about really because, if you don't know my journey, I mean, I just struggled for a long time. I was the guy that wanted to figure out the entrepreneurial game, but I chose to go through, a wormhole, so to speak, of buying books and courses, seminars, events, all that stuff. And before I knew it, I'd kind of trapped myself. I was 8.5 years into this journey, had spent a couple $100,000 on books and courses, but I was, the way that I would explain the vice is kind of like the rat race. You end up working so hard, and you see it online all the time. You see people doing selfies and they're doing Facebook stories, and they're trying to promote their business, and there's an organic phase to the business. But it's tough to get out of that trap, because in the beginning you're wearing all the hats. And I just the way I'm wired, I hit this point, somewhere around year 11 of my entrepreneurial journey, so to speak. And I it wasn't good enough to kind of escape it. It was more like I also had to figure out why. How did I get trapped? Because the reality is I had psychological mess going on after a mortgage crash in 2008, took my company, took all my net worth with it. So essentially I was kind of hiding for about 6-7 years. I was just hiding strategically. I wasn't using meth or heroin. I was using books and courses,
It would have been a way cooler ride if you were.
It would have been different. I might not be here if I went.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think the vice, to simply explain it, is you hustle up some business, but then you get the business, maybe you get a few sales, and then you've got to, especially if you're like me, we were having to fulfill websites and branding and some other things. So if you have a fulfillment business, your focus begins to shift towards the fulfillment so that you deliver on your promises.
Are you able to, I don't know if you have it handy where you could share just that image.
I got it somewhere.
And I don't mean to mess your flow up, but that might be cool.
No, it's all good. It might help everybody visualize this. I'm a visual person too. So it's like, if I can see it
right
and listen, it
make you a co-host so you can share. So
see my messy desktop.
there it is.
Yeah. So the vice, you're hustling, you do your Facebook stories, you do your organic posting. And when I reverse engineered the whole model, now, like when I look and work with business owners, it's like I can see the stage that they're at.
Yeah.
But this organic stage of the business is you don't have money for paid traffic yet. Maybe you don't have your entire business model sorted out. Maybe you're still figuring out some things on your delivery and how to systematize your business. So as soon as you sell something, you got to shift all your focus to just doing a good job for your clients. But what happens is you stop that hustle stage during that time. So your actual marketing engine of the things that got you the sales, you shut that off.
Yep.
And you don't really recognize it. But a lot of times, and this was true for me and it's true for a lot of my clients, is that you don't actually even enjoy the hustle stage. Like, I don't know anybody that really enjoys, like, hey, I did 57 stories today to drum up. It's
Totally.
like, I just want to put my phone down and go back to hanging out with my wife, my family, and whatever. Right. And so you begin thinking during that same time, you got a little bit of cash flow and you begin thinking, how do I not repeat this top stage? How do I not repeat this hustle? I want my leads and my sales somehow on autopilot.
Yeah.
So, and that's where you come down to the bottom of this graphic. And this is what costs you all the time and money. This is what trapped me for almost a decade, is you're always sacrificing time to learn how to generate leads in a more efficient way and sales in a more efficient way, or you're sacrificing money. You've got to hire a team. You've got to maybe hire a sales closer. Maybe you've got to pay money for ads. But I was always getting duped by what I call magic pills, because the marketing industry is set up that they give you these quick fix solutions. If you buy my widget, you'll get leads on autopilot and you'll arrive, it's like this dream that everybody's looking for. But they actually are just tricking you over and over again to believing that, number one, there is some arrival date with your business. Number two, that it's going to be quick and easy. And number three, that their widget is the one thing that will fix everything. And I think, you and I have talked so many times behind the scenes. It's like, it's never one thing. It's a combination of relationships and skills and talent and knowledge and wisdom, and the widgets in combination and in concert together that kind of help you escape this thing. But then as soon as you kind of pull your head up out of the sand, so to speak, and you realize, like, oh, I spent the last 3 weeks delivering for my clients and reading this book and learning this new software I bought to automate things. And you pick your head up and you realize, like, oh shit, I've still got bills to pay. I got to pay my team next month. I don't know where my next sale's coming from. And so that pressure starts to squeeze in on you. And then you start contemplating weird things at that crush stage. It's like, maybe this isn't worth it.
Maybe I should drive Uber.
Maybe I should drive Uber. Maybe I should get a job in a car wash. I always use car wash or
car wash. Uber's my thing. I know you like to wash cars.
I also thought about mowing lawns, like a golf course, like lawnmower. But it's like, maybe I should quit. Maybe I'm not good enough. You have all these insecurities pop up at that stage. And you're like, nah, the 9 to 5 sucks. I'm not going to do that. I like what I'm doing. If I could just figure out this piece. And so you kind of go back into that hustle stage. The escape from this thing is literally, I found it's two things. It's understanding what the foundations of business success are and implementing those in your business. And it's support on the side is kind of like your catalyst. Support of your network, support, mentorship, support from people that have already done what you're trying to do is what's going to speed that game up. So it's literally the foundations of business plus tapping into support, and you can tap into support in a million ways. But I think the one thing I'll talk about, and then I'll let you ask me any questions you want about this, but The thing that I've seen is when things don't work, people forget that we're organisms, right? We're human beings. And when things aren't working, our natural instinct is to freeze, to fight, or to flee, really. And what a lot of entrepreneurs do is we begin to isolate. When things aren't working, we isolate.
Mm.
And the answer is the opposite. It's more connection, it's more collaboration. And I think people forget that you're one phone call away from a million people and two phone calls away from a billion people. And so how I view that is that that's kind of like your collective skills and talent and your collective mind, your thinking, your wisdom is in your network. Like between a million people that I know through one phone call, if I called a buddy of mine and said, "Hey, I really want to meet Oprah," like it's only a couple of phone calls till I find somebody that's pretty close with Oprah.
Yep. Right.
And if you can understand that you need to not isolate and you need to connect, you can very quickly answer any question in the world because you got a million people right at your fingertips. And so there's no reason to isolate. There's no reason to get stuck for long periods of time. But I think at the end of the day, it's just like when things aren't working, you're not proud of yourself. You start to have feelings of guilt or shame, or I'm spending 80 hours a week in the office and I'm not being present with my family. You know, all those things pop up and affect your mindset. And that's why it's so important to, number one, understand what the foundations are, how to implement them, but you really need to figure out for you what's the iterative, repetitive game I can play that I can last, that I can sustain myself long term. To use your 135-mile race as an example, you know, you don't just wake up one day and join a 135-mile race. You have to work up to it. I mean, you have to start at mile one, and then I ran 10 miles, then I run 26. You just don't hop into something like that.
Yeah.
And so this game's a long game, and you have to be able to kind of repeat your daily routines to end up where you want to be eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you talked about, number one, like the hustle stage and wearing so many hats, right?
Mm.
And we've talked, like you said, we've talked about this offline behind the scenes a little bit ourselves, and I've talked with this about with Mitch Miller too a bit. The organic phase, the organic phase is harder now than it ever has been, and a huge part of that is because all of us entrepreneurs and business owners, we end up in these same circles, and here we are pitching our services and our businesses to people that are doing the same thing. And it's like,
Yeah.
if we were smart, we would unfriend all of those people and go get some people that we actually want to have as clients.
We forget that so easily. We're all trapped in our own internet bubble, so to
Yeah.
speak, especially if you're trying to run a business online. But there are times where you feel like, well, everybody knows who Russell Brunson is, but if you went out in your local town and just started asking people, you might get one person out of 100 that knows who
Right.
Russell Brunson is. Maybe.
Yeah.
But you have a false narrative of what's going on. And at the end of the day, like it's pretty simple. I need new people to find out about me, that I exist. I need them to have a belief that I might be the solution to their problem. I need them to take a first step to start to get to know me better and warm them up that I may actually be the solution to their problem. And then I need to create a way and a methodology that gets them on the phone or on a sales call or some kind of buying mechanism where they're asking buying questions. And then we need sales. Business is really easy, but we don't hop right out of the organic phase. And why is that? Why don't we just spend money like right from the start? Why don't I just acquire new leads through paid traffic? It's because we're wearing all the hats.
And we don't have the money.
We're isolating a little too much sometimes. We
Yeah.
get confused. And if you're not extremely confident in, if I kind of go back to the vice, wherever that was, if you're not extremely confident in this stage two, this delivery, if you don't have, like, I know exactly how I deliver, most of it's automated, it's systematized, my team takes care of most of it. If you're not there, you don't spend money on paid traffic
Right.
because you're just not confident enough that, I mean, I think I run into that with business owners a lot, is they're like, well, I want to make 6 figures a month. It's like, oh, and you start to use the math is really what dictates, is this realistic or not? Because if you can't figure out a way to have 100 leads a day coming into your business and it blows up your system, you're not ready for paid traffic yet.
Yeah.
You have to answer those questions first.
Yeah. The other piece of that, going back to kind of what you said with the, wearing so many hats, it's also tough to number one, a lot of new entrepreneurs and business owners that are really trying, that are in this vice, that they're wearing that many hats because they have to, right? You just have to at a certain point, but you also at a certain point you need to break the vice. You also have to stop wearing so many hats, and it's that transition that we're talking about. And then you go to, and then we get to the, stage 4 or 5 or whatever, and we start to isolate, which is the exact opposite thing that we should be doing. And I know you've talked about this, and we've talked about it a bit together. Is you know you need to be building a network of people that you trust, and you should be doing this. And why aren't you doing this? And why aren't we doing this to help each other in similar phases to continue to grow together
Yeah.
out of it? And so that's something that we've been talking a lot about here recently too, is like, who are the 6, 7, 10 people that could be in that circle with us, that all would be willing to be on the same team, even though we might be doing some similar things, and not have scarcity around that.
That's really it, man. I think it's the other thing that we tend to forget is we're all human beings. We have certain things that we do, we kind of see this envisioned future of how we want to spend our time and our money and our family and our relationships. And so you're wearing all those hats too, right? You're wearing the hats of how I want my life to be, but then there's another 100 hats you're wearing inside the business itself.
Yep.
And it becomes overwhelming. And you said one thing, which is, why do we do that? And it's because people don't get clear enough on what they want. They don't articulate it enough, precisely enough. And we don't like to do that, because as soon as I say, here's my daily schedule, I'm going to work out with my fitness, and here's the results I want, here's how I want to spend my time with my family. As soon as we articulate that vision, it creates a judge. And now we're subconsciously, and we're very harsh on ourselves. We're very critical of ourselves. And so the reason we don't articulate the vision is because it's why New Year's resolutions fail, right? It's like, well, I'm gonna work out this year every day at 6 a.m. and on January 3rd you're done. And
Right. Yeah.
because on January 1st you hit it, January 2nd you missed it, you start
Yep.
to beat yourself up, and next thing you know, you're like, I don't like that judge anymore.
Yeah.
And then you also have your closest family and friends and relationships, that if you start making progress in all these areas, it creates an external judge where they see you improving, and then they start to project their own insecurities of not improving themselves
Yep.
onto you, and they try and drag you back down. So it's almost like the mental game is rigged against you, because you're judging yourself harshly, and your external network, if they see you making progress and improving, they try and drag you back down, or they talk shit about you. It's like, we've all experienced that, where it's
Yep.
like, oh, Nate thinks he's so cool, now he's got a book and a
Yeah.
podcast, he
Right.
thinks he's so hot shit, he ran 100 miles, and people actually start talking crap about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're like, what's the deal there, man? It's like,
Right.
I'm just trying to be a better version of myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but
And
that's
the other piece of that is like, I also, the isolation part. It's like, well, why do people, people isolate? I know I isolate when things aren't going well, and I know it's not the right thing to do. So I think the other important side to having that team or group of people is, you have a group of people that know, if, hey, where's Nate been? He's disappeared. He's been quiet. They're actually going to step up and reach out and grab you by the neck and see what's going on, slap you if they need to. And
Yeah, and I talked about that briefly, but if you really get clear on all these areas, this is how I want my business and my money and my friend. There's a lot of judges coming on, right? Like you're being judged in all areas of your life now, and that's why it's so important. You have to create the repetitive game with yourself, because what you need to be able to do is have a fairly clear vision of what you want, and then break it all the way back down into the micro routines. So you have to be able to say, well, to do this with my fitness, I just need to pick an hour where I work out every day. Because if I do that, if I want six pack abs, I need to make sure that tomorrow the best way to break down a binary or a micro routine is to get to the point where it's a binary question. And what I mean by that is, did I do my sit-ups today? And the answer is yes or no. Because then you can have like a scorecard at the end of the day. Was I present with my family at dinner? Did I work out? Did I earn more money than I spent today? Like these types of questions, if you can get down to yes or no answers, you can start to keep a really mini scorecard for yourself on, like, if I do these 10 things over and over again, there's no question it'll lead to the results I want, because it's undeniable. If you did one sit up today and your goal was one more sit up every day for the next year, at the end of the year, you're going to have six pack abs. There's just there's no, unless you're throwing shit in your body or whatever. But
right. Yeah.
But you tapped into the network thing. I think the one thing that I seem to have an ability of is articulating things in a way that people kind of get it. And it's always this dumb little analogy or something, but it's like, you remember those like cartoons where it was like multiple cars or multiple things would kind of almost like Transformer style. They would combine together and kind of create a super thing. It was like, but that's what you're doing is like, I'm stuck. I used to call it my entrepreneurial chessboard. Is like, I had about 12 people behind the scenes that I could be very authentic, very real. I mean, authentic is not the right word. I could reach out to them and they filled in some of the gaps, and they wanted the best for the very best parts of me, and they supported me. So, you mentioned Mitch Miller. Mitch was one of those guys for me. He's had moments where he's told me very, very harsh truths, very critical, but he was on my chessboard because I knew if he says something like that, he's not doing it to be mean. He's doing it. He wants the best for me, and he's telling me something I need to hear. But that chessboard was also filling in gaps of where I was weak knowledge wise. You're on that same team. And there's certain things that I reach out to you for that Mitch would have no advice for me on. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you can kind of create that super entity for yourself by having a really solid network and say, well, I don't understand Facebook ads. Why don't I develop a relationship of somebody that spent the last decade in Facebook ads? And you develop those relationships over time.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Aaron coming in here. Hey, Aaron, how you doing?
What's up, Aaron?
See you.
Hey, good.
Thanks for coming in, man. We're just talking about the vice right now, and let's talk a little bit about, how do we break free? How do we get out of this vicious cycle?
I think number one is you really do need to recognize how simple the business game is. I need new people to find out about me. I need them to take a first step. I need to warm that relationship up. I need to give them an offer and a buying opportunity, and I need to be able to close the leads that I'm getting. And I think one thing that I see is that we're all so busy wearing all these hats is people neglect what I would call their business image. And your business image is essentially, let me see if I could find the other slide real quick. Your business image this is it. So everything a new prospect can see with their eyes to form a first impression of you and your business and decide whether it's worth taking the next step. And it's pretty simple. It's usually your hub is your website. what shows up on social, what platforms you're on, and what shows up if I search your name.
Mm-hmm.
And what I do with new clients is I make sure that the perception of how they want to be perceived as a business is showing up correctly for that first impression test for new prospects. Your business image, your website, your social media, how I want my clients thinking about that is this is entirely for new people that are finding out about me on day one. Because so many people, they forget that, like, if I run into you and I've bought from you and I've been to UOW, Nate, like I don't necessarily, I bet you the people that are in your circle, if you surveyed them, I bet you 99.9% haven't been back to your website. You know what I mean? They're
Uh-huh.
not revisiting your
Right.
website to see
Right.
what's going on. So you need to set that stuff up so that your new people have a chance to believe that you can solve their problems. So that's where I begin, because then, you know, I run into 100 leads today. It's that whole you're single and you go into the bar scene in college, and you know you want to put your best foot forward, I guess is the way I would put it. If you're disheveled, you stink, you got no teeth, you almost have no chance to get that date that you want or whatever. And it's the same in business. If your business image is all over the place, you maybe have a couple of reviews from 2014, you got misspelling, you got broken links on your website, you never get the client to just take the first step to believe
Mm-hmm.
in you enough to say maybe this person can help me. And the other thing I see on business images specifically, is people close all the loops in their website and it costs them leads. And what I mean by that is they explain their products and their services, and they've got the price on there, and they literally answer every question. Well, if somebody thinks they know exactly how your programs work, they know what it costs, why is there ever a reason for me to connect with you? I can make up my own mind
Yeah.
on this product's right for me or it's not right for me. So I love to hide things behind the scenes, because the number one reason, or there's two reasons mostly that people hop on sales calls. How does it work? Is it right for me? And the third one is, how much does it cost?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you can start to hide some of those things, there's more incentive for people to hop on a sales call.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So what is it here that we got? The silent roadblocks. What's
Yeah, this is the foundations. You need to have authority. People buy from people that have authority in a niche. So am I gonna buy a leadership training from somebody that just came out of college, or am I gonna buy it from Nate Bailey, who has run 2 races over 100 miles, has clearly led other people, has this ULW event, he's got a CL24 event? Which one am I gonna buy from? You know, which realtor am I going to buy from in town? Am
mm-hmm.
I going to buy from the guy that just got his license, or somebody that clearly has proof and social proof that they're very good at what they do and have done it for a long time? So people buy based on people that have an authority in a niche.
Yeah.
You've got to position yourself that way online. You've got to understand that you've got to display consistent reviews and social proof, have proof that you do what you say you're going to do. You even in your posting, people destroy their positioning all the time in their posting. And they don't recognize they're doing it. You know, one of the ways is the people that are always posting, like they have posting and selfies and 53 stories a day.
Yeah.
The actual perception for most people is, well, it's one of two things. It's this person really has their act together and must have a full team like Gary Vee helping him do this.
Yeah.
Or if you're not, most people are playing at that mid-level where the actual belief is this person must not have a lot of business because they have all this time to do
All the time. Yeah.
posting and all this stuff. You got to be able to persuade people to just take the next step. I think about cognitive dissonance and cognitive biases there. It's you can't think about, your prospects aren't thinking about multiple things at once, or they can't make decisions on multiple things at once. So you've got to be able
Mm-hmm.
to persuade them to just take the next step in your process,
Yeah.
which means you should have a process and a flow. You
Yeah.
should understand, like, this is how I run into new people. This is what happens next. This is how I warm them up. This is how I get them on the sales call, and this is how we close them. Um, and really the biggest missing pieces I see is people don't. This is kind of how you and I started, Nate. Like, you had done all this amazing stuff, but if I went to your last website, the perception was you hadn't done anything almost.
Right.
Like
Right.
you were hiding it all almost.
Yeah.
So all we did was take all the amazing stuff you'd already done and just put it on your site. I mean, so the credibility was, oh, he's got events, he's done races, he's got a book, he's got all this stuff. And your previous website was almost hiding all that.
Mm-hmm.
And so if your business image is only for new prospects and new people finding out about you on day one, then why are we hiding all that stuff, right? It's like, they need to see. I think at some level, people don't display all their credibility because they maybe don't feel comfortable bragging or something like that.
Yeah, I
Or
definitely think
they
there's,
feel like they're bragging.
yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Right.
But the mindset shift to get over that is, well, we've seen it in ULW, the transformations that happen in ULW, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some of those transformations, some of your clients are probably more on the edge of insanity than they would like to admit. They're 3 feet from quitting. They've even contemplated maybe some really dark thoughts, giving up, suicide, those types of things. And so the reframe on displaying your credibility is, if I don't display everything I'm done, then there's somebody out there that might die. There's somebody out there that might quit when they're 3 feet from gold. And if you have that mindset, you have to display your credibility.
Yeah.
If you believe in what you do.
Yeah.
And that's what they'll get over it. If you shift your focus, because that feeling of guilt or not guilt, the feeling of like, maybe I don't want to brag, if you think about it from that level, it's like you're literally thinking about yourself.
Right.
But this
Right.
game
Yeah.
is entirely about who you're trying to help.
Yeah. It shifts to a responsibility to share, to help somebody that really needs
A
it.
responsibility, a duty. Yeah. And it's like, if you get all the reframes right in your brain, like you don't have a problem going to work. You don't have a problem showing up. You don't have a problem displaying your credibility. It's all being able to reframe the conversation and ask yourself the right questions. I recently went through a mindset. I told you about this behind the scenes, and I have no problem sharing, but I got stuck. I got stuck in my business, and certain things weren't working right. And so I ended up reaching out to our mutual friend, Clay Moffitt, who's a mindset wizard and does a lot of things. But I was just like, I can't figure out why I'm stuck here and why I'm not getting certain results. And what we did together was we dug down to the questions I was asking myself every day. And the question I was asking myself is, what am I missing? Well, that implies that I'll never be there. I'm always going to be missing something if that's the question. And so what we did is we just shifted the questions that I ask myself every morning. I literally have a list of questions I ask myself, like, what do I need to attend to today so I'm in better shape this evening than I was in the morning, on all areas of my life. What am I creating today that adds value, that's solving a problem for one of my audience members? That those types of questions will shift your focus to them instead of you. And so you got to get down to the root cause of the questions and the conversations that are going on in your head.
Yeah.
But if you get these things right, you have authority, positioning, you're able to persuade, you're showing your credibility, you get a solid copy and offer, you're not skipping steps in the relationship and your process and flow, and you've got a professional sales closer, or you're really good at closing sales, you don't need much more. At that point, you need more awareness. You need more new people finding out about you.
Yeah. 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 That's the foundations, and these are things that you can, work on every single day. You can find somebody like yourself that's taken the time to break these down, and kind of in a way that that is very relatable and understandable, like you said, is really a big piece of the skill set and superpower that you have. And you can also find people to fill those holes for you, because you don't necessarily, nor should you, be doing all of these things, at a certain point.
I think you touched on two things right there. Like, one is, I mean, that is your choice on a daily basis is, am I going to spend an hour today learning how to become a better copywriter or make better offers? And it's this iterative process of an hour here, a half hour there, and you're improving the areas where you say are important to you. But what I found, and money is really the thing that keeps a lot of people trapped in the beginning.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it make more sense to just hire somebody that spent the last 12 years of their life only focused on copy and offers,
Yeah.
and just hire them? But, to get a really, really good copywriter, it might cost you 10 grand to write a sales page, maybe even a percentage of the sales on top of that. And so we were like, I got to figure this out myself. I got to put another hat on. It's a longer way to get there. So I found in the beginning, how you can get creative is you can build new relationships. You can barter. I did a lot of bartering in the beginning. I did a website for a gal who was a professional speakers coach, because I didn't feel like my speaking ability in public was like it. I'm all over the place anyway. Like, my ideas are always bouncing all over the place. You should have seen me before, like I worked with her,
Yeah.
it was really
Yeah.
bad. It was hard to follow me. And still is sometimes. And so I think, we did her website, and she had a crappy website, but she'd also spent 15 years through professional acting school, and she was a director, and I was a TEDx speakers coach. And so I called her up, and I was like, I have this presentation in Cabo. I don't feel confident in my presentation. Her package was about 10 grand. My website package was 10 grand. I said, would you be willing to swap? So you can get creative in the beginning and fill some of those gaps if you have a complimentary service of what that person needs.
Yeah. 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 That's, just make sure it's important, right, to find that right person that's, on the bartering side of things, that will be able to follow through and deliver just like you can.
Yeah, I've definitely made some mistakes there too,
Right.
like, and the bartering game is just a phase. Like, it's like, hey, you've got this thing that I need. I think we forget, like, we all used to barter, right? It was like,
oh yeah, 100%.
tooth hurts, I'll give you 3 beaver pelts.
Yeah.
It's like we bartered all the time, and people,
Yeah.
especially when you isolate, as we talked about earlier, you lose that creativity. Like, there's answers that we're just not thinking about it because your focus is so narrow, and honestly, the focus is usually on yourself instead of them. It's like, I've got to shift the focus all to my clients and what's best for them.
Yeah.
Which is why Amazon's where it's at today. Like, that's their entire company ethos, is how do we improve the experience for our clients.
Yeah, 100%. This is good. So I hope that that people will spend some time to dig into this talk today. It's been awesome, and there's a lot of value inside of this. And I know you're all about creating value for people, which is why I think that we connect so well, because we both, from the heart, that's who we are as people, is just really, we have a business. We want to help people, and we want to create an incredible lifestyle for ourselves, which includes, a certain amount of revenue and things like that, that are extremely important inside of business and as an entrepreneur, but also just really driven from the fact that we want to do that because we are creating an incredible amount of value for people.
And all this stuff, like this presentation is, I don't know, 128 slides. This is all recorded in the foundations course. You can drop a link to that.
Okay.
It's a course that I created. You can give it away to your entire group for free. So you could drop a link there, but I just go through kind of step by step how to think about this stuff and what to do about it. And if you sat down and just went start to finish, it's about 4 hours. 4 hours to go through the whole thing.
Not long at all.
No.
compared to a lot of, that's a problem. Sometimes with, there's so many courses and information available, and we automatically go to thinking about the time it would require to go through that. But the fact that you got this shortened down to 4 hours is pretty amazing. So,
Well, I found the one thing I'll add is that what I was trying to do with the course is give you the foundation of how to think about things, because if you get that thinking right and you understand, you can troubleshoot your own brand. You really, if you get the foundation right in your thinking, it starts to ripple out in your business. So it's not a lot of homework in it. There's not a lot of things to do. It's just, how do you think about your positioning? How do you build authority? What do you need to think about with your copy and offer? And I tried to get it all down to the essence, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, you get the
essence. Nuts and bolts, as we say.
Yeah. You get down to the nuts and bolts, and almost any strategy will work. Everybody's pitching you strategies, tools, and tactics. You get the essence and the foundations and the nuts and bolts right, and almost all those strategies, tools, and tactics will work for your business.
Well, I appreciate you coming on today, and I know your time is limited here today. So, any final thoughts before we wrap this up, close it out?
I would just say, that if you're stuck and you're not getting the results you want, most people will say things like, I'm so close, I'm almost there. But the reality is a little more harsh than that. If you're not getting the results you want, it literally means you're doing the wrong things. You're doing the wrong things with your mindset, your time. And so you've got to replace things that aren't getting you the results you want with things that will get you the results. And the fastest way to figure that out is to find somebody who's already done what you're trying to do. Because if you want 6-pack abs, you've been working out for a year and you're not getting there, all you need to do is model the habits and behavior of somebody that has what you want already. Mm-hmm. And you can do that by paying them direct coaching. You can do that by virtually watching them online and watching what they're doing and try. If you just repeat the habits and the behaviors and the routines of the person that already has done what you're trying to do, you'll get there. And that's the fastest way to get there, is to find somebody that's already done what you're trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and appreciate the relationship.
I just like staring at Aaron's pretty face.
I know.
So you're so still, Aaron. No, man, it's my pleasure. If anybody, in the foundations course, there's a way to reach out to me if people need to. And it's my pleasure, Nate. It's my pleasure.
Thank you, man. All right, brother. Well, you have a great day, and we'll I know we'll be talking here soon.
I'm going to go hop on a podcast right now and build some more authority.
Nice. Love it. All right, brother. We'll talk to you later.